Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order, that being the regular council meeting of Warwick Township Council. Date today is August 26th, 2024, and its starting time is always 3:30 p.m. I want to remind council of disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest. Does anybody have one they'd like to declare at this time? Oh, seeing none. I'd like to welcome everybody who's joining us through our YouTube channel. And now I'm going to do the acknowledgement of ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the Township of Warwick is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs and offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. Council, I'm going to go to number 5 on the agenda. That's minutes of the previous council meeting, that being the meeting of July 29th. Did anybody have any questions or comments on those? If not, I would entertain a motion. Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor Manning. All in favor? That is carried. Councillor, we're going to move right to delegations. We'll come back to number 6 on our agenda later on. We have a 3:30 delegation today. We have Daniel and Jason. I'm going to try to pronounce the name the best I can. Van Wissenberg, am I correct? Okay. Sorry. So Jason, what we do here is we invite you up to the table. So we do record these proceedings and we do stream it live. So if you want to just come up and sit beside John here, sure. And John will show you how to work the microphone. So again, welcome. And like I say, what we usually do in a situation is turn it over to you to offer your whatever words you want to state to us. And so anyways, the floor is yours. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Thanks.
There we go. Yeah, so I would like to bring up the topic of the flooding that's been going on in town. Like I know the amounts of rain that we've been getting hasn't been normal, but we've been living on McGregor Street for 6 years now. And I know there's been 3 times where the road has flooded. The first time it took out a tree that drowned. That's because there's a river of rainwater coming along the side of my house. And like, I don't know, like to me, there needs to be something done for the drainage. Whether it's like some sort of French drain in the back of our yard, and same with my neighbors across the street. They also have rainwater coming onto the road. Now rainfall's getting a lot more, and like my worry is that I'm gonna have rainwater coming in through one of my basement windows. And yes, like with the backflow valves that we're getting put into our houses, that's only, to me, it's only a Band-Aid for the real issue with all the water that's being put on the road. And yeah, so I just don't know like where we go from here, how we can resolve these issues, that sort of thing. You know, because like now that McGregor Street's prone for flooding, how are we going to resell our homes? Insurance, homeowners insurance. I guess could be a snowball effect, right?
So what I can tell you, so again, what we've done to date is we've talked to our engineers. And we've looked at that area that you're talking about amongst other areas within the municipality, because as you know, everything is interconnected. Everything is. So we've been working with our engineers to try to find a way to deal with the situation. When you get the 100-year rains, unfortunately, there's no foolproof way of dealing with the situation 100%. I think we all know that. But what we're doing is we're trying to find a way to slow the water down, to make for better drainage. Last year when we had the weather event, seems to like to hit our municipality on a regular basis. Now within 11 months, we had 2. We went out and we did a lot of work in the rural area, cleaning out ditches, drains, stuff. I mean, We didn't get it all done, but we got a lot of it done. And it definitely helped, but it's a work in progress. But we have talked to our engineers. We use Spreets for our engineering services. And we've asked them to take a look at the different areas in the community, as well as the rural area, to see what we can do to better the situation. So we will be getting that information back from them very soon. And then council will have to discuss what we can do and where we're going to go, the budgetary part of it as well. But at the same time, it's a serious issue. There's probably nobody in this room that wasn't touched by the weather events, including some of the councilors here. It is real. It's something that we need to deal with. We know we have to deal with it. And we're trying to find a solution to make it, to at least slow the water down and to make for better drainage in the community. So I can tell you that it was a matter of about 3 days after the event, met with the engineer and said, look at what can we do? Here's the areas, here are the hot areas. Councilors had input, obviously, from the residents and the people that connected to them. And that's what we're doing. So we're hoping to have at least that sorted out in the very near future. And we're still adding up the damage of the last storm as well. And that's a bit of a work in progress as well. But I do hear you and I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely. I mean, we got to see, we got to try to deal with the situation and make it better. There's no doubt about that. Like I say, everybody's touched by this. And again, they used to call them 100-year rain. I don't think you can call it 100-year rain anymore. I think they got to come up with a new terminology because we've had 2 of them in the last little while. I'm also talking to some of the rural folks as well, because they were hit as bad as people in town, and everything is interconnected. And I do have a couple individuals that have offered up some potential advice, maybe ways of dealing with it that have a little experience in that business. And I'm looking forward to chatting with them as well and having that information brought back. So we're not sitting here doing nothing. Believe me, we're not. It's just a matter of getting the information back from the engineer and for council to look at it and decide where do you start and where do you go? Because like I say, everything's interconnected. That's the hard part. Be easy to fix one section, but then you might be putting more water on another section. So we're trying to find the fairest and best way of dealing with it. So that's kind of where we are right now. Okay. Yeah, just 1 second. Normally we don't do this, but I'm just going to ask council if they have any questions and I'll come back to you. Okay. And if you want to ask a question, would you mind coming up to the table? Because we do record. Did anyone on council have anything they wanted to add? What I said? Did I miss anything? Okay. So, sir, what we seem to have this. The old days, I didn't have to worry about this. Still, we got a problem here.
Checking. Yeah, Francois Valentine. I live across the street from Jason here, which is at 517 McGregor. I just wanted to question about the report. When is it coming out? How comprehensive is it going to be? Is it going to be available to everyone to read?
Yeah, so it'll definitely be public on what we get back. We just haven't got it yet, and we haven't had a chance to look at we can't even predict what might be in that. So yes, absolutely, we'll be completely transparent with the public on that for sure.
One other quick question. In the case of a flood like we've had, is it still the responsibility of the homeowners for the water on their property to maintain the water on their property? Meaning that my understanding was that if water is coming from somebody else's property, that's their fault, right? So.
Do you want to take this question?
I don't know if I'm going to do it justice. As for my understanding of the Drainage Act, yes, it's the responsibility of the individual homeowner to take care of their water. I would have to confirm it with Spreets to confirm that, but it's something I can ask and we will include it when we get back to you on it.
So I'm just wondering if I should be concerned about, water that's coming from my neighbor's property.
Councillor Westgate.
It's a responsibility of everyone to keep the water on their land, on their own property as long as it would before if there was no house there. So stormwater management, but you can't stop water from flowing the way it's supposed to flow. Okay, but it's not supposed to come any faster than it did before with these 100-year storms or these great storms. There's just no way, no matter what we did, we could take all that water. like when we're going to do some work on Sunset, the engineer told us what size of culvert, that's what takes the water from you there. We've already upped that, what, 2 sizes, I believe.
4 to
right?
6.
It'll take twice as much water as it did before when we do that work, which we're hoping will be shortly. It'll help a little bit, but they're still getting it from your street across by my place and into the ditch. And I know not the second last storm, I wasn't home for the last one, but it was coming across our road on Warwick Street, 2 to 3 feet deep and 30 or 40 feet wide, and like a rapid, you couldn't have. So there's not, and I know the 3 storms you're talking about, they were all a lot of rain in a hurry. The water coming up in your street, that's part of the stormwater management for that subdivision, because it holds the water, it doesn't let it away faster than it did before. There's probably restrictions in some of them drains that puts it to the, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the drains were all full and they were, taking it as fast as they possibly could.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the report and finding the data on the situation and seeing what can be done about it.
Oh, and once we have that information, we will make it public. Again, there'll be some different scenarios for us to consider on where you start, where you finish, how does it all interconnect? And once we have that information, absolutely be 100% transparent. Like I say, we're all in this together. We're all feeling the effects of this. Drives you crazy. Last year's storm, you could say, okay, it was a 100-year storm. It's unfortunate. It hurt a lot of people. You can't say 11 months later, well, it was another 100-year storm, because again, we could have another one of these this year. There's no guarantees, right? So just trying to be honest and trying to find answers on how to deal with it, make it better. Like I say, it's not just a Watford situation. It's a Warwick situation, where it affects the people out in the rural areas just as much. So we got to try to find a way that makes it work for everybody. Councillor Manning, you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Trevor or somebody could find the Drainage Act, the portion of that, whatever sections those are, to help answer the question on the onus of the drainage flow. Just wonder if we could get that clarified for as well.
We'll pull the Drainage Act.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any other questions, folks? Anybody else got any questions they'd like to ask while we're here? Very good. Well, thank you very much for coming. And no, anytime. We feel for you. Like I say, we're all in this together. You have experienced some pretty heavy duty issues over there, and I can reassure everybody that we have talked to our engineers and we are trying to find the best path forward to try to deal with it. And that's what we're going to do. So we will make sure everybody sees what we get in the very near future. But thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it, folks. Thank you. Okay, council, we're going to go to the next piece of business that we have today. And that is a zoning bylaw amendment for 5221 Nauvoo Road. Now it's my responsibility to announce that. The next item on council's agenda is the holding of the public meeting with respect to an application and council's consideration of a bylaw to amend Warwick's zoning bylaw 121 of 2012 on lands described as Plan 3, WF, PT, BLK, A, RP 25R 10 154, Parts 2 and 3. No municipality as 5221 Nauvoo Road in the township of Warwick. The purpose of the amendment is to permit the construction of a single detached home. Now going to ask the clerk the following: the method of giving public notice of the meeting and the date notice was given. Madam Clerk, please.
Notices were sent by regular mail and posted on the property on July 30th, 2024.
Thank you. And now I'm going to state the following. Any person requiring further notice of the passing of the bylaw should give their name and full mailing address to the clerk before leaving the meeting. Any persons present who wish to make an oral or written submission should provide the clerk with their name and full mailing address. Also, all persons wishing to address the bylaw should ask their questions for myself, the chair. I'm now going to proceed into the next phase. The clerk will now read any written submissions. Madam Clerk, have we received any written submissions?
Were some comments received, but they're all included in the planner's report, which is on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The planner will now give their report. Yohan, would you please give your report?
To your worship, thank you. Good afternoon, respected council members and viewing public, including the applicants. If you can go to the next slide, please. All right, the property is located at 5221 Nauvoo Road, so that's on the south side of Watford, fronting off of Nauvoo. The property is zoned industrial. And right now, it's an underused lot. We have an industrial use, so there's a mill. So it could be considered historic because it's been there for a very long time, even though it doesn't have a historic designation. So that's all that's on the lot. Surrounding the lot, you have an industrial lot to the north, which is also owned by the Searson family. On that, there's just a garage, and it's a garage for a residence that's further north of the property. North of that industrial lot is residential. To the east, we have residential as well. To the south, we have lots zoned commercial industrial, but what's in those lots are single detached residential as well. To the west, we have agricultural lands. So what you have is you have a property, you have with a sawmill, and then it's basically surrounded by residential. If you can go to the next slide, please. So that's the mill, and that fronts the property. Can we go to the next slide, please? So as mentioned before, surrounding is practically residential. So the image to the right, the garage that you see was a garage that was on the industrial lot to the north. And then further north, you can see the residence, which the garage is for. The image that you see on the left is a residence south of the property. Next slide, please. So this is a picture that was taken behind the sawmill facing westward. So the rest of the lot, as you can see, it's empty, and beyond it's agricultural land. The applicant is proposing to put a house on the left side of the property. Next slide, please. So this is what is being proposed. There was potentially two routes for us to go down. One route was to redesignate the lot from industrial to residential. Unfortunately, we couldn't go down that route because our county official plan and the Warwick official plan requires that if land is being converted from industrial to something else, it'll have to be done through a municipal comprehensive review, which is a very long process. Right? So that wasn't feasible in this case. So what we've done instead is we've done a site-specific zone. So we're keeping it industrial, but allowing the residential use. And the reason we're allowing it is it's a very unique scenario. So it meets the character of the area because it's surrounded by residential. So what's being proposed is further residential. Also, when it comes to having industrial uses and residential next to each other or within the same lot, our policies allow certain circumstances. For example, if there's existing residential, allow that. If there's a caretaker's house, they'll allow that if it's connected to the industrial use. In this case, because it's a historic building, we thought it wouldn't be appropriate to actually mess with the structure itself. So we would allow a zone-specific rezoning to allow a single detached. When it comes to compatibility, we don't have any concerns. Planning has no concerns. And the reason we don't have any concerns is surrounding, there's no industrial, right? That's currently existing. The only industrial is on the lot itself. And what the applicant has mentioned is it's only sporadically used, only once in a while, and it's only used for personal use. And since the ownership is the same for the mill and for the new proposed residential, there's no compatibility issues because if it's ever an issue, they can just switch off the mill, right? So that's not a concern from our perspective. Go to the next slide. So the bylaw amendment that's being proposed is we're adding a new section into the bylaw under the industrial zone section, so under the exceptions. So we're adding a new section that would allow existing industrial M1 zone permitted uses. And what the site specific would add is a single detached dwelling and accessory buildings for this single attached dwelling. Next slide, please. So it is the opinion of planning that it meets the intent of all relevant policy. And it's our recommendation that council approves the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. And with that, I end my presentation and I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Johan. We'll now hear from those who are in favor of the bylaw first. Does anybody want to speak to it that's in favor of it? Sure. Do you want to speak? Do you want to speak to it? Because we'll have you come up to a microphone, or it's up to you. Sure, it's up to you. It's totally optional.
I want to do this.
It's totally up to you. Do you want to help him with the microphone, John? I'll turn it over to you. Sure, go ahead.
So what I proposed to do was, like, I live out on Brickyard Line. And now that mom and dad are both gone, I decided that I'm gonna take the house of mom and dad's. And then I want to move the family back to town where we've been. But I want to put a building up in the field with the residents. And then my son and daughter will take over mom and dad's house, and then whatever happens with Amber being a girl. But my son will take over the property and the house, right, eventually. So this is my proposal, was just to come back to town. Sell our place out in Brickyard that we've lived at for 21 years. And then move everybody back to town. And then I want to be able to put all my equipment, the engines and everything that inside a building. Right, and not just tidied up, I guess, but this was my proposal to come to the town to ask to do this, right? And then, like with the mill, yeah, we'll run the mill, but it's not like it was when dad was sawing, right? Like, it's just hobby, whatever, cut a few logs type of thing. So, but everybody around town knows the mill, right? It's been there since 36. So anyway, that's all we want to do. And Cindy's good with it, my wife, and my brother wants me to move back to town as well, because he's living in grandma and grandpa's house. Right, so we're all one lot owners, I guess is what you could say. And dad had separated the field and stuff into the two, split the field in half between Scott and I before he passed away, so we would have each our own and stuff like that, so that's just the proposal. So.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Searson. Does anybody want to speak that's opposed to this? Seeing none. All right, thank you. Members of council, does anybody have any questions or comments about the application? Councilor Morris?
I think it's a great idea. Welcome back to town.
Does anybody else wish to speak to this in council? Seeing none? Very good. Okay, so I'm going to state the following. The public meeting is now concluded. Council has 15 days from this meeting to decide whether or not to pass the bylaw. Council's decision will be mailed to those who have requested a copy. Any person or agency may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in respect to the bylaw by filing with the clerk of the Township of Warwick no later than 20 days after the day that written notice was given. A notice of appeal must set out the objection to the bylaw and the reasons in support of the objection, plus the applicable fee to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, council, I'm going to take you back in your agenda. Let's go back to number 6. We left 6 to go into timed events. I don't think there was any business arising from previous meetings, Madam Clerk. No, very good. Number 7 is scheduled meetings and events, council. You have a bunch of dates listed there. If you have an issue with one of those, please let the clerk know. B is other meetings and events, and the next event on there for 2025 is the Roma conference, the Rural Conference, coming up in January of next year. I'm now going to go to number 8. I'm going to go to councilors' commitments and items. A, council commitment dates. Does anybody have anything that they want to add? Councillor Morris?
Yes, let's get my calendar up here for a second. I will be away from the 21st of September to the 28th.
Thank you, sir. Nobody else? If you do, just please see Heather and we'll get it recorded. I'm going to go to counselors' items and verbal reports. I'll start with Counselor Manning today. Counselor Manning, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Yesterday, we had the annual Watford Cemetery Decoration Day. And as chair of the committee, I'd just like to reach out to everybody involved and say thank you very much. It was an amazing event. And to all the people that attended, thank you. In particular, Denning's Funeral Home, they did a great job. Bill Denning was fantastic. All the committee members that came out and helped. The Legion for opening up for a lunch and for doing the color guard, as well as Heather did an amazing job. Heather Willems, thank you, and the staff too for helping out, and then all the other participants that Bill brought along, including we had a flyover from a Harvard trainer, which was amazing. So, yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
I have nothing this time.
Counselor Morris.
I have nothing at this time.
Counselor
And I
Westgate.
have nothing.
Okay, I've got a few things here I'm just going to touch on. I just want to point out and let everybody know here as well in the public that Legion Week is coming up. It's September 15th to the 21st. And I would urge everybody to get out and support our Legion during Legion Week. They do an awful lot of good work in our community and they would really appreciate the support. I want to talk a little bit about a meeting last week in Ottawa. Councilor Morris and I attended. We had a meeting with the Minister of Energy, Stephen Lecce. A natural gas expansion. It seems like every time we turn around, we have a new minister that we're dealing with and we're telling our story. I would say we were received well. It was a thorough meeting, but again, we continue to knock on the door of the province for the funding we need to expand natural gas in our community. And it is a work in progress, but we're going to continue to do so. So I say the meeting went fairly well. We were heard, but we still don't have any results at the end of the day. So we're going to continue to try to get those results. So that's one piece. I want to thank the Cornfest Committee for another very successful Cornfest again this year. It was seemed to be very well organized. Lots of people came out to support, and we want to thank everybody involved, all the volunteers, for the hard work in making that another successful event. So thank you to everybody who was involved. And got one more thing here that I want to talk about. Let's see here. Oh, the one thing that I want to talk about is sort of a follow-up from having the folks here talking about the drainage and everything. I'd like to set up a special meeting in October to deal with our drainage issues and the flooding situation. We hope that we have information by then. So we'd like to set up a special meeting, just give everybody the heads up in October. We feel that we will have the information that we need by then. And we can have that meeting of council to discuss where we can maybe make some small improvements or maybe make some larger improvements down the road and go from there. So I just put that on everybody's radar screen that I will be calling a special meeting to do with Public Works and more specifically about the drainage issues that we've experienced the last 2 years. So just want to put that on everybody's radar screen. Okay. Councilor Westgate.
If we have that meeting, we should include the sanitary sewers in that and see about the outlet, maybe look at what we need to do about stopping some of the stormwater from going into our system because it shouldn't get overwhelmed like it is.
So the intent is to deal with all those things. This is what we've given the engineers we've said to the engineer, we'd like to see where we are on all these things. So it would include those things, but I appreciate you referencing it. And again, as we get information back, we'll be sharing it with the public, but it would be good to have a meeting to have a full discussion on what options we have available to us, short-term, long-term, look at the financial aspect of it all. We're still trying to get dollars from the emergency aid process that the province has. I like to think we're getting closer to last year's. We're going to have obviously we're going to have another application this year, but to talk about all those things, Councillor. So we'll try to make sure that we cover all those things best we can. So I put that on everybody's radar screen. We should be equipped, I'm hoping by October, with that information. So that's the hope that we get that information back from the engineers and we can have that intelligent conversation and share with the ratepayers on what we're doing and how we're going to go about doing it. So that's a discussion that we're going to have. And a part of it's going to be budgetary, in all honesty. I've talked to the treasurer about that and we have to obviously figure that into our budget as well. But just to put that on everybody's radar screen, it's something that we need to do. And we need to share with the community on what the options are, as the folks here came today and talked about. So it's on everybody's radar screen. So thank you. That's all I've got. Let's go, if we can, to staff items. We have a 9A is a verbal update from Trevor Jarrett, Deputy Treasurer CEO, on the operational plan for the Township of Warwick distribution system from Aqua. Trevor, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, Aqua made a presentation of their annual reports, I believe, in April. The subsequent or a standing item of it was the operational plan, which they said would be coming at a later date. This is that plan they said at that time. It now needs to be signed off to the verbalization, exactly what they did by the mayor and the CAO, then we're in compliance.
Very good. Did anybody have any questions on the written report? Seeing that, I would entertain a motion to receive and file the written report. Councillor Morris, Councillor Manning, you seconding that? All in favor? That's good. Thank you. Okay. We're going to go to 11A if we can, folks. We'll go to the GL report. Did anybody have any questions on 11A, the GL report? Seeing no questions on the GL. Does anybody have any questions on the accounts payable 11B? Seeing nothing? Then I would entertain a motion to approve both. Deputy Mayor Kallenberg is making that motion, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Let's go to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda has only one item on it today, and that's the non-action correspondence. Is there anything from the non-action correspondence council would like to pull out for discussion at this time? Seeing none, then I would ask for a motion to receive and file the non-action. Councillor Manning, thank you. Councillor Westgate, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. Then we're going to go to 13A, and that's reports and items requiring a motion. We have one today, 13A, action correspondence, numbered 0825. And it's a bin rental charge situation. I guess it's a situation where somebody's asking for the municipality for a little bit of help with the billing. How does council wish to deal with this particular item? Councillor Morris?
Were we not under the understanding that flood damage stuff could be taken out to the landfill free of charge? That's what I understood. I might be wrong though.
No, it's absolutely true. We did contact Waste Management. We made arrangements for anybody to take the stuff out there. And there would be no tipping attached to that. So you're correct. That is correct. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Mr. Jarrett, but maybe you could speak to this. I think you were dealing with these folks.
Yeah, it's one individual whereby they took everything out dealing with their father's estate and property. And they were refused and had to pay themselves. You can't control everyone at the landfill. They had to get it in there. End of the day, it should have been taken by the landfill. In turn, should have billed us. So I can go back and fight Waste Management and say, please take it, reimburse this individual, then bill us, or else we can just pay directly. It's gonna be the same effect.
Councillor Manning.
Did they state why they refused them? Is there any, I did, like in the letter, kind of, did it hint at maybe they're out of town or they missed the deadline? Was there a reason from WM why?
WM didn't get back to me on it. I think it was within the time frame. I just think it's someone who was not carefully looking at the paperwork sitting in the weigh scale.
Was this something we can put a bit of push on WM and try to get them to basically accept it or correct this error?
I would probably go the opposite way. I would recommend council to pay it directly, but have us talk to WM to say, this isn't going to be the end of an emergency situation. We don't need for this to happen again. Please train your staff accordingly. End of the day, we're going to be paying for it.
Councillor Westgate.
On the house that this come from, I believe it's across from the medical center.
I believe you're correct, yes.
I don't think there's a basement in that house. I was just wondering where the garbage all come from.
That I do not know.
And I didn't think the water got up high enough to damage anything on the second floor. It may have the garage. So I'm just wondering what the trash was and if it was really from the flood damage.
We will take a further investigation and I did not know that. I will make a phone call to the individual and find out if they do have a basement. If they don't have a basement, you may have a valid question.
Very good. So are we gonna have a little bit of more of an investigation then? I do know there's been a bin there at the last little while, just in driving by, but again, maybe a little more investigation as Councillor Westgate has suggested might be the fitting way. Is everybody okay with that? Yes, Councillor Manning.
I'm looking over this and usually I'm better at looking at invoices, but I can't find a total on here. What's the total amount for this?
I don't have a copy of it in front of me. I believe it's around $300.
Thank you, Trevor.
So some further investigation with the ratepayer and it can come back to council again. Yeah, my only concern here is that we had other folks that rented bins and so on, and we came up with a process and we got to make sure we're very fair with everybody at the end of the day. So further investigation should help. So everybody's good with that? Very good. Thank you. Okay, well then we'll move forward because it's further negotiation or further investigation is needed. So I don't think we even need to receive and file on this particular one because there's further investigation needed. So we'll leave it at that for now. Any new business? Anybody have any new business they wish to bring forward to council today? Seeing none. All right, well, thank you. So at this point in time, that'll end the open session of today's meeting. I'll need a motion to move in camera pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons. A matter regarding personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board members. Number 5, a matter concerning litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, section 239. Could I have a mover and seconder to go in camera? Councillor Morris, Councillor Manning, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So for the public, this ends our open session of today's meeting, and now we'll be going in camera. Thank you.